I myself, I'm 31, I'm child free, I don't want any kids, and I genuinely believe that some sort of jealousy and envy creeps in when a parent sees someone single thriving, living a life of excitement, living a life they would want to live. That single parent, or that parent sees the single person who has no kids enjoying themselves, traveling, doing whatever the hell they want to do. And in the back of their mind, they're thinking, fuck, I wish I could do that, but I can't because I gotta get home to the kids. Just because you have kids doesn't mean I gotta have kids. I don't want any children. And a lot of people will tell me, you're still young. I'm 31. What do you mean? You're young. You don't know yet. Whatever, let's scratch that. They'll also tell me, what if somewhere down the line you meet a woman who's amazing and who changes your mind? That's not the right woman for me. I'm not gonna meet a woman with different beliefs about life. That doesn't make any sense. One of the non-negotiables that I have is meeting a woman who doesn't want children either, because I don't want any myself. It wouldn't make any sense now for me to get with a woman who does want children when I don't want any. Think about that. And they'll try so hard to tell me how much of a blessing it is to have children, but yet there they are with no sleep, less money, more broke, and bags under their eyes. Where's the blessing? Is the blessing in the room with us? Because I don't see that shit. Happy people don't convince others to live the way they live. They live the way they live, and they let others live the way they want to live because they're truly happy with their life. And that is how I know so many parents are miserable and unhappy, because they try so hard to convince you to have kids and to live the way they live. Where do you think the saying misery loves company from? These people ain't happy. These parents are miserable. They're miserable and they hate life. The only time they're happy to have kids is when tax season comes around, because it's convenient. The more the kids, the more the money.
No matter how people try to paint these stories, the jealousy behind childless women will always be a mystery to me. So I saw this viral story the other day, and somebody by the name of Boston Mom says, I met with a friend visiting from New York City. She is very successful, a very cosmopolitan job, not married, in her early 40s, and we were close when we were younger. She talked the whole night about her recent breakup with her longtime boyfriend. She broke it off because he wanted to get married and have kids. He is from a very blue-collar family in Pennsylvania, and he works in the service industry. He apparently has moved on and is engaged. She's really struggling with it. And I felt so bad because I can tell that she sincerely believes that she has made a grave mistake. It was great to see her. Was it? But I couldn't wait to get home and snuggle my kids. It made me feel very grateful for my family. But she goes on, you guys. Now she follows up and says, it also made me feel a little guilty that I do have a family. I don't have a fancy job and title, but I get to wake up at 5 a.m. and go cheer my kids on in his hockey game. And y'all, it doesn't stop. She continues and says, this isn't meant to make me feel better or wallow in someone else's pain. I graduated high school from a small private boarding school. Half of the women are unmarried, and the ones that pursued advanced degrees and moved to cities are still single and now in their 40s. Something is happening, and I don't see it making anyone happier or society better. This is a result of decades of social engineering telling women that they are equal to men. What? And should pursue careers over children and families. This is a major cultural shift that has a long time in making, and it needs to be reversed. 'Cause what? I know you're not putting this woman's business. The friend reading this. Like, girl, I thought I was crazy, but no, the comments passed the vibe check. Somebody said a real friend wouldn't put their friend's business on the internet like this. I can only imagine how she feels if she sees this. Shout out to Tokyo Bites, because they said, what are you saying? Like, literally, what are you saying? What are these follow-up tweets? Are you really happy? Like, that's the question. Girl, is you happy? Are you using your friend's life to weigh what's going on in yours? Somebody else followed up and said, she's your friend, but you brought her hurtful story to the internet. Did she ask you to share it on social media? Do you know how she's going to feel when she sees this? I'm convinced you literally shared this story to make yourself feel better, as you're not as successful as she is, but you're married with kids and she's not. And then somebody followed up below and said, the truth is that the lady herself isn't happy, and steady comparison of what's going on in her life and her friend's life in the follow-up tweets. And then she tried to sprinkle it like, oh, waking up at 5 a.m. to cheer my kid on at his hockey game is like the bee's knees. No, it's what you should do as a parent. You should encourage your kids in all activities and sports that they encourage themselves to do. But don't act like that this is something that people want to do. And of course, somebody sums it up in a perfect tweet. And shout out to Luca. They said, met up with an old friend who confided in me about her deepest vulnerable life experience. Afterwards, I went home to my beloved family, one that she will never have, and figured I should tell social media about how pathologically inadequate my wildly successful friend is.
Y'all, the way I cackled through this entire video. Okay, so let me get straight to it. There's two things that could be happening here with this woman. Okay. Either number one, she made this entire thing up, because I've known women to do stuff like that. They will literally make up an entire scenario that never happened in order to throw out whatever they feel about motherhood, or the goal is to try to make it seem like their choice to become a mother was better than a single woman's, or child-free woman's choice, or something like that. So a lot of times these situations don't even present themselves to these people, but they will make it up. So there's a part of me, a sneaky part of me, that thinks she probably made this entire thing up, number one. Or number two, she's the one that's unfulfilled, unhappy, and jealous of her child-free friend. And this is what some mothers do. All mothers don't do this. This is what these types of mothers in particular will do in order to hide the fact that they regret motherhood. And this is what I'm talking about. When I think of a mother who I believe is actually happy being a mother, happy with their choice, I think of Verb and Bougie. Shout out to Verb. Okay. Verb and Bougie is a mother. She has a son and a daughter. She loves her kids to death, and she would do anything for her kids. She puts in the work, she puts in the time. She, when we used to talk on the phone, or like, like do our little chats or whatever, she would like, what mom duty's called, my daughter wants me to take her to get her hair done or something like that. And she would just go, and that was her thing. And I could tell she enjoys motherhood, right? She also supports child-free women. She's like, look, let the birth rate plummet to hell. She coined that term here on YouTube and on TikTok. And that to me is a picture of a happy mom, a mom who doesn't regret her kids, a mom who is not hating on single women or child-free women. That to me, that's what that is. That's what that shows. Anything short of that, in my opinion, is a hater. That's somebody that is just jealous of the fact that, you look around and you see child free women who did not make the same choice. They just decided, for whatever reason, motherhood is not for me. I'm not falling for that trap. A lot of women knew what they were getting themselves into, like Burb. She had her kids later in life when she was stable, had a good partner, all of that. And she decided from there. When you're actually happy with your decision, you're not going to say negative things about, oh, you're so unfulfilled. And I'm so glad that I was able to go home and tuck my kid in. It made me feel guilty that I actually had a child to tuck in. And it's a lot. That's the part that made me feel like she made it up. But that's just me. When I heard that part, I'm like, okay, yeah, I think she's making this whole thing up. But even if she's not, the fact that she put it on social media to try to make it seem as though her choice was the better choice told me everything that I need to know. So this woman regrets motherhood either way, whether she's making this up or not. She's a miserable parent. This is why you get a lot of content creators or people on TikTok, for an example, making videos about how empty child-free women are. I have a son, I have a daughter, I have, a husband, I have all these things. Poor you don't have that. You're going to be lonely later in your life. The reason why they do that is because they are trying to convince themselves that they made the right choice. And the only reason why you would even think that way The only reason why you would ever feel like you need to convince yourself is because you are miserable. It is because you know deep down you regret your choice. Because if you were happy, you wouldn't question it. But when they look around and see child-free women, we force a lot of these types of mothers to question their own existence. It forces them to question their own choices. Because how did they get out of this? How did they know themselves well enough to know that they didn't want to do this to the point where they were not going to fall for the societal pressure? And I didn't. This is where that comes from. Anytime you hear people getting on social media and like literally trying to clown out on child-free women, it is because they know they're stuck with their choice and there's nothing they can do about it. So they find ways to cope with it. So they'll shame you. They'll try to make it seem like their decision is better, that they're fulfilled, that they have everything that you don't have, and stuff like that. It is a way for them to project. It is a way for them to feel better about the fact that their choice is a stuck choice and there's no escaping it. Or if she regrets motherhood in general. Because, one of those two things could be the case, or maybe just one of those things. One or the other. At the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. And you also have to think about why the comparisons. Why did she feel the need to go home and allegedly think about her so-called friend who broke up with her boyfriend? And I just know she's sad about it. And it made me feel guilty that I had a kid to tuck in at night and to cheer for at practice tomorrow or whatever. Why the comparisons? If you really think about why a person would have to go home and compare themselves to someone else, it is because you are trying to find a way to feel good about the position that you are currently in your life. There is really no other reason to do that. You want to feel, I made the right choice, she didn't. When in all actuality, many of these types of mothers, these specific types, okay, they will trade places with a child-free woman in a heartbeat. A lot of them will never admit that. Many of them do admit it, but a lot of them will never admit it because they will have to admit defeat. They would have to admit that they made the wrong choice for their lives. And so, in order to cope with it, like I said before, they make these comparisons, they project, and they try to convince themselves that they made the right choice. Okay? And there are a lot of mothers out there who absolutely support me, support child-free women. They will tell us in a heartbeat, girl, it's not for everybody. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. That's how you can tell when a mom is being genuine. The ones who snap back at you, call you out your name by calling you selfish, telling you your life is not fulfilled, telling you that you'll never know true love until you have the love of a child. No man is going to want you because every man wants kids. When they come at you with those things and it seems as though they're trying to convince you into mother to be a mother, that is how you know that that mother is miserable and probably jealous of your freedom, jealous of whatever you have going on in your life where you're focused on those things and you don't have kids holding you back or holding you down. And it just is what it is. So every time I come across this type of content, I'm going to share it with you guys, child-free women, just so you know you're not tripping. Yes. Do I think that the vast majority of mothers regret motherhood? I do. I do believe that it's the vast majority. I know for a fact it's not all of them, but I do believe it's the vast majority. And I say that only because the vast majority of the time I get snide remarks from mothers. And that is how you can tell if a mother is secretly jealous of you, or if it's not jealousy, she just wished that she made different choices.
I knew I was living my life right when somebody looked me dead in my face after telling them that we were going to go to South Africa and like do Africa at least once a year, every year. And we were talking about all of our vacation plans. And they looked at me and they said, I can't wait till y'all have kids so y'all can sit down. Because what type of hater ass I want you to be miserable ass shit is that? And with that, I am going to have a pool day with my girls. We're going to drink and eat until our heart's desire. And yeah, so
All together, girls. 1, 2, 3. Fuck these men on the internet. They don't know what they want, but they will see what they can get. Oh, go and waste your one and only precious life while pretending not to have a full receding hairline. So keep your eyes on his hairline and your hand on your drink. For all you know, he is a psycho.